As global economic conditions continue to evolve, nations around the world are adjusting their strategies to remain resilient in an increasingly interconnected environment. For Iraq, this moment represents a period of transition, shaped by both opportunity and responsibility. The global economy is undergoing structural changes driven by shifting trade patterns, technological advancement, and evolving geopolitical relationships. These developments are influencing how countries position themselves economically, and Iraq is no exception. In recent years, economic resilience has become a defining priority. Global supply chains have adjusted, financial systems have adapted, and governments have been required to respond with flexibility and long-term planning. For Iraq, this means balancing domestic priorities with external pressures while continuing to strengthen institutional capacity. The ability to adapt to global trends without compromising stability is now a critical measure of economic maturity. One of the key challenges in this environment is managing uncertainty. Global markets are influenced by factors such as energy demand, monetary policy shifts, and regional developments. These forces can create volatility that affects even well-structured economies. Iraq's task is to navigate these external influences while maintaining internal consistency and economic discipline. Doing so requires clear policy direction and measured decision-making. Economic adaptation also depends on integration. Countries that engage constructively with international markets, trade networks, and financial institutions tend to build greater resilience over time. For Iraq, strategic engagement helps create access to knowledge, investment, and institutional support. This does not mean dependency, but rather cooperation that strengthens long-term capacity. At the same time, domestic development remains a central pillar of progress. Investment in infrastructure, human capital, and governance systems provides the foundation needed to absorb external changes. When internal systems function effectively, economies are better positioned to manage global shifts without disruption. As the global landscape continues to evolve, Iraq's economic path will be shaped by how well it balances adaptation with stability. Progress will not come from sudden transformation, but from steady alignment between policy, planning, and long-term national priorities. This approach lays the groundwork for sustainable growth in an increasingly complex world. A strong economic future depends on the ability to build reliable foundations that support growth over time. For Iraq, strengthening these foundations involves reinforcing institutions, improving policy coordination, and ensuring that economic decisions are guided by long-term objectives rather than short-term pressures. Stability is not created through rapid change, but through steady refinement of systems that promote confidence and accountability. One of the most important elements of this process is institutional effectiveness. Well-functioning institutions provide clarity, consistency, and predictability, qualities essential for sustainable economic development. When regulatory frameworks are transparent and enforcement is reliable, economic participants can operate with greater confidence. This stability encourages investment, supports entrepreneurship, and reduces uncertainty across markets. Another critical factor is the management of public resources. Responsible fiscal planning allows governments to prioritize essential services, maintain infrastructure, and respond to economic challenges without creating long-term imbalances. Strategic allocation of resources strengthens resilience and helps prevent economic disruptions during periods of external stress. Economic diversification also plays a central role in building durability. Expanding activity beyond traditional sectors helps reduce exposure to global fluctuations and creates a more balanced economic structure. As new industries develop, opportunities emerge for innovation, employment, and sustainable growth. This diversification enhances adaptability and supports long-term economic health. In parallel, developing human capital remains essential. Education, skills development, and workforce participation contribute directly to productivity and innovation. A skilled population supports modernization efforts and enables economies to respond effectively to technological and structural changes. Ultimately, progress depends on alignment between policy, institutions, and people. When governance frameworks support long-term planning and inclusive growth, economies become more resilient to external pressures. For Iraq, strengthening these foundational elements is key to building a stable and adaptable economic future that can withstand global change. Beyond policy and structure, economic progress is deeply influenced by perception and confidence. Markets, institutions, and individuals respond not only to data, but also to expectations about the future. For Iraq, shaping a stable and credible economic narrative is essential to sustaining momentum and encouraging long-term engagement. Confidence does not emerge overnight. It is built through consistency, transparency, and the demonstration of responsible governance over time. Public trust plays a central role in this process. When citizens believe in the direction of economic policy, they are more likely to participate productively in the economy. Confidence encourages investment, supports entrepreneurship, and strengthens domestic demand. It also reinforces social stability, which is critical during periods of reform or adjustment. Clear communication and realistic
messaging help
align expectations and reduce uncertainty. International perception is equally important. Global investors, financial institutions, and trade partners assess not only economic data but also the credibility of governance and policy execution. Countries that demonstrate reliability, regulatory clarity, and institutional strength tend to attract more sustainable forms of engagement. For Iraq, maintaining a consistent and transparent economic narrative helps build long-term trust with external partners. Media and information flows also shape economic perception. In a digital environment where narratives spread rapidly, balanced and factual communication becomes increasingly important. Misinterpretation or speculation can amplify uncertainty, while informed analysis promotes stability. Managing this information environment responsibly supports confidence and protects economic progress. Momentum is sustained when confidence and structure reinforce each other. Strong institutions support clear decision-making, while positive expectations encourage participation and investment. This interaction creates a reinforcing cycle that strengthens economic performance over time. For Iraq, building this momentum is a gradual process rooted in credibility and continuity. By maintaining consistent policies, improving transparency, and fostering trust across society and international partners, the foundations for long-term stability grow stronger. This steady approach allows progress to take shape, without reliance on sudden change, reinforcing a sustainable economic trajectory. As economic systems evolve, managing risk becomes just as important as pursuing growth. For Iraq, long-term stability depends on the ability to anticipate challenges and respond with measured, well-structured policies. Economic risk does not disappear through avoidance. It is managed through preparation, diversification, and institutional strength. Understanding this balance is essential for sustaining progress over time. One of the primary risks facing any developing economy is exposure to external shocks. Global energy fluctuations, shifts in trade relationships, and changes in international financial conditions can influence domestic performance. For Iraq, Building safeguards against these pressures requires prudent fiscal management and careful coordination between monetary and economic institutions. Stability emerges when policies are designed to absorb volatility rather than react impulsively to it. Another key component of resilience is diversification. Economies that rely too heavily on limited revenue sources remain vulnerable to external changes. By encouraging growth across multiple sectors, such as infrastructure, services, and private enterprise, Iraq can strengthen its economic base and reduce dependence on any single driver. Diversification supports employment, innovation, and long-term sustainability. Institutional consistency also plays a decisive role in risk management. Clear regulatory frameworks, predictable decision-making, and accountability create an environment where economic actors can plan with confidence. When institutions function reliably, uncertainty decreases and economic momentum becomes more stable. Equally important is strategic foresight, planning for future challenges, including demographic shifts, technological advancement, and global economic transitions, allows governments to act proactively rather than reactively. This forward-looking approach helps maintain stability, even during periods of global uncertainty. Ultimately, sustainable growth depends on the ability to manage risk while maintaining confidence. For Iraq, continued progress will rely on strengthening institutions, maintaining fiscal discipline, and responding thoughtfully to change. By balancing caution with opportunity, the foundation for long-term economic resilience becomes stronger and more enduring. As Iraq continues to navigate a changing global environment, the long-term outlook depends on balance, patience, and informed decision-making. Economic progress is rarely defined by rapid shifts, but by the ability to maintain direction through changing conditions. For Iraq, this means aligning reform efforts with realistic expectations and maintaining consistency across policy, governance, and institutional development. Sustainable growth is built on trust in institutions, in economic direction, and in the capacity to adapt. When policies remain stable and transparent, confidence strengthens across both domestic and international communities. This trust encourages participation, investment, and long-term planning, which together support economic resilience. Equally important is adaptability. Global markets evolve, technologies advance, and regional dynamics shift. Countries that remain flexible while preserving core economic principles are better positioned to manage uncertainty. Iraq's ability to adjust while maintaining stability will play a central role in shaping its future. Ultimately, progress is not defined by short-term movement but by consistent improvement over time. Through responsible governance, strategic planning, and continued engagement with global systems, Iraq can build a foundation that supports lasting stability. This approach allows economic growth to unfold steadily, creating opportunities while minimizing risk. Understanding this broader perspective provides clarity amid complexity. It reinforces the importance of patience, structure, and long-term vision in evaluating economic development. As Iraq continues forward, its path will be shaped not by momentary shifts, but by the strength of the systems guiding its progress.